God bless my brothers and sisters. It's another beautiful day to worship the Lord in the beauty of His holiness. I'm just going to do a video real quick. I'm going to do a teaching in regards to something that was said. Oh, look at this little frog. Almost stepped on him. I'm going to do a video in regards to something that was spoken, by a false Christian. And I just want to state, just for the record, that when you have faith, right? Like, for instance, in this world, if somebody was to, like in our country, we have laws, right? So just like in our country, even if somebody was to, like, try to harm you, but they run away, right? You can't shoot them in the back, okay? You can't pursue them, right? Once they're no longer a threat, and try to use your car or run them over or, stab them or shoot them. You can't do that. You're supposed to call 911, right? Because you're not trained, nor are you equipped. You don't have sirens and you don't have lights and, you don't have a police vehicle that people are used to seeing. When there's emergency situations, they'll put the sirens on and people know how to move. When you go to get your license, they talk about emergency vehicles. What you're supposed to do when you see them, if a police is coming, ambulance, fire truck, right? So you're trained to understand what a police vehicle or a fire truck or ambulance, what they can do and what happens when they're, driving this emergency. So, in this country, in the United States, we have laws. So the laws are telling you that you can't do certain things and you can do certain things, right? So you got people who are claiming to be Christians, right? They go around exposing all these people. They go around saying all these things, saying who's false and they're false prophets, whatever the case may be. But then they're boldly saying things that's wrong. Now, if you're going to say that people are false and people, are not of God and they're deceivers and they're this and they're that, then you can't be doing the same things that they're doing. You can't be openly, you can't sin privately, but you're openly just committing sins and you're acting as if you're sent by God to expose all these false people, but you yourself are false as well. Because a person that's talking about fighting and, hurting people. And let me just get to the video and then I'll get back to the point of why I'm saying everything I'm saying. Okay, let me just start it over.
Ain't no booty over here. Pat, what you do in prison? Pat, what you do in prison, Pastor Dennis? I pray. Pat, what you do in prison, Pastor Dennis? I pray and fight. Yeah. I'll be praying and fight. Ain't no booty over here. I'm just telling you straight up. Ain't no booty over here. That's right. God may shine, your teeth may grit, but this is the one booty you will never get. Yeah. Amen. Did you hear what I said? Hallelujah. Did you hear what I said? I speak for all real men. Real men. Repeat after me, men. Your eyes may shine. Your teeth may grit. But this booty here, you will never get. Hoorah! Pat, what you do in prison, Pastor Dennis? I pray and fight.
Okay, so you see that? That's the point that I'm trying to make. So you got this person here that is telling you that he'll fight somebody, for they try to take his bottom. He's calling it booty. Now, I did a video about this a few weeks ago. I guess this is like an extended version of what he was saying, or maybe he's just talking about it again. I don't know. But this is what I was telling Sarah when I was on the phone. Me as a Christian, right? If I had to go to jail for whatever reason, I'm automatically going to protective custody, right? I'm not trying to be around all that foolishness. Let me just show you the way that a Christian mind thinks and someone that's in Christianity. The man who we just watched is in Christianity is a false pastor. Look how safe my words are and how righteous my words are. You know, next, and then you then you go back and rewind the video and listen to what he said. Just watch the rational and the logic of what I'm about to say and listen to the illogic, you know, the illogic, statement that he made, right? So he's saying if he goes to jail, that while he's in there, boo, here you go. I'm like, I couldn't find you. I already played it. I just gotta, and that's it. It's a few more verses, huh? Yeah, I'm like. So, you know, I want you to see the difference between one who is a believer, that's myself, and I'm going to stick exactly to the word. Now, the word tells us that we can't be brawlers. The word tells us to turn the cheek, okay? The word tells us that we can't murder, okay? The Bible tells us not to do violence to any man, okay? So it's all scriptures, it's all what's taught to us. Now, Jesus, who is supposed to be all these Christians' leader, these false Christians' leader, they're all saying they're supposed to be believers of God. But Jesus' whole life on this earth, he never was violent. He never was aggressive. He never was vicious. And he never talked the way that Satan talked. He never talked using these terminologies and talking like people that's in the world. He came and set the stage. No one ever related him to being like somebody's in the world. He never used worldly talk or worldly aspects to try to, make his point, right? He spoke new things, okay? He came and said, you heard before, but I say, nothing that he said you can compare to anything that any earthly man would say. And that's our leader now. So they're all claiming to be followers of Jesus, but they're sitting here telling you that they'll fight and pray. That's what he just said in the video. So whether or not you guys listen, you believe, right? I'm just here to give you logic and give you the truth. Jesus already said that there's going to be people that was going to be false prophets and false teachers and deceitful workers, right? Why they do it for, you got to sit down and ask them, why they are moved to be traditional. Y'all see the video of the church members. They all got on masks. Most of them had on masks. So clearly there's no power there. Can you imagine being in the Bible days and people, were protecting themselves from a virus, or a plague? Look at this little guy. People protect themselves from a virus or a plague, but you got apostles that can pray for them and heal them. So all I'm saying is that, this race is not for the swift, but the ones that can endure to the end. So you clearly see that the man is talking about violence and talking about fighting. He's talking about getting his booty taken or whatever he's talking about. He's saying booty. He's not even saying butt. It's like that's just worldly talk. Then he's like saying a rap. He's rhyming. You might grind your teeth or glint your eyes, whatever, but this booty is mine. Like that's just worldly. You expect a comedian to talk like that. So even if he sees this video and says, oh, I'm just making a joke. See, that's why being a Christian is not for everybody, because there's no joking. There's no playing. You understand? We don't listen. Sin is sin. That's just like how the Bible says to abstain from all appearance of evil. Let no corrupt communication, right? So you can't joke around and say, oh, I'll blow your head off. I'm just playing. Blowing someone's head off means killing them. People that are in the world say things like that and they really blow somebody's head away, right? People in the world say, I'm going to beat you up. And they really want to beat you up, or they do beat you up. So you don't say things that worldly people say when you're claiming to not be worldly. Geno Jennings attacks all these false pastors while he himself is false. And the more they keep putting that camera in front of himself, the more you're going to see the darkness bubble up, push his way out, and come out through his mouth. Okay? There's no way that we can talk about fighting somebody. I cannot fight anybody because I'm commanded by the Lord and I'm taught by Jesus that fighting is wrong. Fighting doesn't solve anything. You understand? You have to answer for all that you have done, whether it be good or bad. So what I would say, if someone said, hey, Brother Ron, if you ever go to jail, we're in jail, we're going to rape you, right? I would tell my brothers and sisters, I would say, hey, listen, you know, if I had to go to jail, I know what goes on in jail. Because Sarah was like, yeah, you got to watch your back. I'm like, no, that's not the case. Going to jail, you're dealing with people that couldn't make it in the world. People that are rebellious, disobedient, and those who aren't law-abiding. So you got all these people in one building, in one facility. Okay? So it's a lot of stuff. I spent time in jail, and I spent years in prison. I'm talking about in reality, myself. Okay? So I spent time I've been to many different jails, and I've been to a few different prisons. And in jail, it's more wilder sometimes than prison, because a lot of times prison is more structured. Okay, it's more like prison politics. Jail was kind of, you know, people in and out, so you know, it's not people that's just there for life sentences, and you know, people are more established or whatever. So in jail, you got people that might stay up all night in your cell, beating on the door, cursing the guards out. Some people like to throw urine and feces, you know, at the guards. Some of your cellmates are always angry. You know, they're always angry. Some don't sleep at nighttime. You know, they stay up and they rap, they sing, you know. They might be cursing, they be angry, sniffing pills, you know. They got contraband. They be drinking, you know, they make liquor and different things like that. You know, they be gambling. A lot of them be having drug addictions. A lot of them don't be clean. Some don't take showers. Some don't, you know, brush their teeth like that. Some, you know, don't wash, you know. It's a lot of things it's a lot of, you know, challenges that you face in jail, especially with having a cellie. So me, if I had to go to jail for whatever reason, I'm just going to protect the custody, right? Or I'm calling for the guards, you know, to assist me or help me. What else? That's the guard's job. If somebody was mad at me for whatever reason, I'm going to say, hey, guards, I got to move. Call me a snitch. Call me whatever. I'm not a thug. I'm not a gangster. I'm not a blood member anymore. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. So I can't sit here and act gangster and act like, you know, I'm hardcore because street code says you can't snitch or you can't tell. But remember, snitching is just truth telling. I'm a truth teller. So I'm not worrying about somebody calling me a snitch. You understand that? Like those type of politics and those type of rules, you know, don't affect me, because a person who tells the truth is not a snitch. That's a truth teller. Darkness wants you to look at telling the truth as being bad. So good could be looked at as wrong and bad could be looked at as being good. Okay, that's why the Bible says, "Won't you that call evil good?" So when you tell on people or you tell the truth, right, it exposes darkness and it shows the world that you don't find pleasure in the things that are bad or unrighteous, right, or evil. But the world wants you to look at telling the truth as a bad thing, because the world is full of darkness. So that's why they come with the word snitch. Like, oh, don't snitch, you know, on somebody. But that's telling the truth. So the world wants you to lie or not say anything, right? All because you've been brainwashed to have this street thuggish mentality that's even taught by the older generations. You're like, don't snitch on nobody, you know? Like you're keeping the street code is forever changing. People say, oh, you're not a snitch if you never went on the stand. Oh, you're a snitch, but you know, if you call the cops, that's not snitching. Long as you don't put nobody in jail. Like, it's so many weird rules, and they make it and they break it, and they, you know, they're passive. They cover it up. You know, one person can tell, but because you're cool with him and he has a lot of money, you know, he gets away with it. Or because you're close to that person, he gets away with it, right? So it's snitching is created. The whole snitching thing is created by darkness. So if I'm a believer and I'm in Geno Jennings' shoes and somebody wrote me an email saying, we're going to rape you, I would ignore it, because I would first trust in the Lord to protect me wherever I go, because I'm not going to jail as the evildoer, right? So what have I done to go to jail to where the Lord will forsake me, or, you know, I have to just face whatever I got to face? If I go, I'm going because, you know, darkness is bringing persecution upon me and doesn't want me to, you know, preach and teach and speak the word, right? So I'm going to have the same faith that Paul and Peter and those brothers had when angels came and rescued them. I'm not saying an angel has to rescue me, you know, from jail. I'm saying, but protection can be with me while I'm in jail, to where it doesn't enter people's heart to harm me or to do anything to me, you know. Or why do they not believe that the power of God that's in you can cast the spirits out of those people that are trying to do you harm? The same way when they came to arrest Jesus, he said, who are you looking for? Right? And then he spoke and they all fell back. You see, the power, the glory, you know, made them fall back on their bottoms. So I would just go to protective custody. They call it PC. That's where I would go. Hey, guards, hey, I'm locked up. You know, I don't want to be general population. I want to be, you know, I want to go to my one-man cell. You know, I'd rather just be myself. All I want is my Bible. I understand it's 23 hours in one. I'm not gonna be there forever. You know, you know, pray, read, fast. You know, I got my 3 meals, order some commissary. You know, all is well. Work out. You know, I'll be reading, praying. You know, working out, fasting. So I read the whole Bible over again, from beginning to the end, and I'll take notes. You know how long that takes? You know, so I would just occupy myself. I'll do push-ups and squats and dips and, you know, whatever else I can do. Go out and take my shower, walk around the little yard for an hour, whatever the case may be, guys. I don't have to be in the room with someone. I don't have to be in the cell. I don't have to be in a position where I'm going to get attacked or somebody might hurt me, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm still not going to fight somebody, because that's wrong. Geno Jennings can't call T.D. Jakes and all these guys out. We ain't never seen Joe Osteen go in front of his church and say he's going to fight somebody and they try to take his booty. But Geno Jennings always calls out Joel and T.D. Jakes. You ain't never seen T. Jakes and them, oh, I'm going to fight somebody. You know, I might murder somebody. That's what Geno Jennings said one time in the last video, that he, you know, God will have to keep him from murdering somebody. But you ever seen the people that he talk about ever say stuff like that? You see what I'm saying? That's the devil, guys. Y'all don't understand it, because you're looking to see somebody say, oh, I'm a deceiver. The Bible never, ever tells you that people are going to expose themselves. It never says that. It says, try the spirit. And how do you try? With the words that they're telling us to try, right? Just like when a person somebody's on probation, right? The PO doesn't go off of what they say out their mouth, because the Bible says out of the same mouth proceed blessings and cursings. That means people can curse you out and still say, I love you, or say, God bless you, while they talking behind your back and saying, you know, you're everything but a child of God. So that means that people can make their tongue say good things, you know, or they make their tongue say bad things. So you can't go off of people's tongue, right? Because they can deceive you. That's why people lie. Lying is to protect or cover up, you know, whatever it is they don't want to be revealed. So when you look at, the word, the Bible say, be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. So you have to have the action. You can't say that you're going to fight somebody. We can't fight. Our leader was never a fighter. He went through, remember, he was in the hands of unbelievers. They put crown of thorn on his heads. They plotted, you know, they parted his clothes. They hit him. They threw a spear at his side. You know, they mocked him. And you never seen him ever retaliate. You got a man that's writing Geno Jennings saying, I'll rip you come to jail. The guy just talking. Are you going to ever go to jail, Geno Jennings? Like, you going to meet that same guy? Like, come on, you done made it into a whole teaching, exposing and showing who you are. We can't fight. I don't care if somebody comes to me right now. I'm just going to back up and just walk away. You're not going to sit and be like, who you think you're talking to? You can't do that. It's our religion. You understand? Can't do those type of things. You got to believe in what it says. But remember, Geno Jennings made up his own church name. You know, he has the same tradition as the people that he's talking about. He has the same church times and the same church functions as people that he's talking about. He believes in his mind that he is sent from God, while he's sitting here saying things that are against God. That's delusion. That's deceit. That's false. That's false teaching. Think about it. Because a true believer of God will act like Jesus. You would ignore that guy's email. You won't sit here and go in front of your whole false church, sitting here saying how you'll fight and you'll murder them. Like, you ain't never seen Joe Osteen say he's gonna murder somebody. I'm not putting Joe Osteen on a pedestal. I'm not saying that he's right. I'm just saying the people that he's supposedly exposing and he's rebuking, they don't even talk that way. He's inciting violence, guys. Think about it. His whole church. Say with me, church. This booty you'll never have. So that means everybody that go home listening to their leader, false pastor, will think that it's okay to hurt a man and attack a man if they try to take your butt. That's what he's saying. He's not saying I'm joking. And if he was trying to say he was joking, let's go to this real quick. Ephesians 5. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving thanks. For this ye know that no whoremonger, no unclean person, nor covetous man, who is idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no man deceive you with vain words. For because of these things cometh what? The wrath of God upon to disobedience. That's why Juniors always be sick. That's why you see his nose always running and stuff. I'm telling you. They can say whatever, but they are ineffective of doing what that word said because they're not believers. That's why their whole setup is so far from God. Think about it. His church name, is it biblical? The church meetings on Sunday, is it biblical? The way he runs it, is it biblical? No. You understand? How he going to be a pastor? Where the elders at? Right? Where the apostles at? He called himself a pastor, but then it says apostle. You see what I'm saying? They make it up. That's why they don't take the word serious. They only read the word for logic. But the way he grew up, whether it's Philadelphia, whatever he was born and raised, he's passionate about, being a man and being macho. And certain homosexual activities, he's not playing with that. That's how you know he's not a believer, because it's always something that is deeply rooted in these false Christians. And when it surfaces, they expose themselves that they don't really have any faith. They're just using logic to gather you to listen to what they're saying. Okay? That's why my title says false pastors will always have a following, because you can relate to their worldly talk and their fleshly ways. The man is sitting there talking about fighting, guys, and everybody's laughing because they agree with that. Why didn't anybody stand up like Paul stood up to Peter and say, man, Pastor, well, you shouldn't be talking about fighting nobody, man. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, Pastor, we ain't supposed to fight. We just got to trust the Lord. He's telling you, man, I'm going to need the Lord to have to help me. He's talking about, I'm going to fight and pray. What are you praying for? That's traditional. It's mental exercise. That's all it is now. You're praying for what? What are you saying to God? God, I love you. Thank you for your word. I want to be righteous and holy and do what you know fighting is wrong. So why would you say I'm going to be fighting and praying? You see, guys, it's a joke to them. That's why they make up their own church name. They all going to hate me and not going to like me and listen to what I have to say. That's fine, though. I'm not here to try to bring people up under me and have mass followings. I'm just speaking the facts and speaking the truth. Okay? 1 John 4:5 says, they are of the world. Therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. We are of God. He that know of God heareth us. He that is not of God heareth not us. Hereby we know the spirit of truth and what? The spirit of error. See that, guys? The Bible never says that false pastors, false Christians are going to tell on themselves. They give you the scriptures that you got to search and study and see for yourself in order to know if these people are right and they wrong. They giving you instructions. They're telling you, hey, we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to do that. They're supposed to do this. If they don't do this, remember in Corinthians it says, if any man claims to be a brother and does this and does that, right? It's telling you. So there's no way you can say, oh, you're judging me. There's no judging. That's just like going in front of a judge and saying, you're judging me. Well, that's his job. There's laws. Look, he's not judging you on what size shoe you wear. When you go to court for breaking the law Is that judge saying your teeth is too yellow? Have you ever seen a judge say you're too overweight, you're too skinny, you're too muscular? Right? Oh, I don't like the car you drive. Can judges talk about that? That's outside of what they're charged for. You never see a court case. You never see a court case where a judge is bringing in personal things. They don't even, like, if you ever looked at a court trial, they don't even allow a lot of things in to protect the person's, you know, so the jury won't be moved by those type of things that doesn't have anything to do with the case. I'm telling you, they can't sit there and be like, oh, you know, he's on child support. He got 5 baby mamas. He don't pay responsibilities. They can't do that. That has nothing to do with what he's charged for. So a judge can't sit there and bring up all this stuff. But a judge stands on what the laws say and then use the sense and guideline to know how much time he can give you or if he can cut you a break, because it's a system that's already set. The Bible is 66 books, guys. So we have all these instructions that's telling us what we can and can't do, right? How far, you know, I mean, what's okay and what's not okay. Okay? The Bible tells us how far to have a conversation with people. The Bible say after the first second, that's why the world you see is that's why you see the world is can y'all hear me? That's why the world you know, that's why the world is structured the way it is, or constructed the way it is, for the simple fact that we have rules and regulations. So just as in the Bible, you just can't do what you want to do. And if you do, you're a false Christian. So that's why the true Christians come and reveal that and expose that. So let people know that they're not true believers. Okay, last verse, Philippians 1:27. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ. You understand that? Talking about fighting out the gospel of Christ. Talking about murdering somebody, talking about your booty getting taken. That's not the gospel of Christ, guys. Okay? It says, I can come and see you, or else be absent. I may hear your fears, that you stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. You see that? Only let your conversations become the gospel of Christ. Was that conversation of God? What's he gonna say? You're not gonna be able to tell him anything. That's why I'm telling you. I'm not trying to talk to him and tell him. He ain't gonna listen. But think about it. What he just said wasn't the gospel of Jesus Christ. Nothing that he said was. He said, you know, he's going to fight. You know, he's taking his booty. You know, he's making it into a joke. None of that he can find in the Bible and support what he's saying. Just like he added more books in the Bible. You see? Whenever a person is doing something, like, whenever a person is doing something, right, as far as, you know, when a person is claiming to be a Christian, they lose sight of what it really means and what's the whole purpose of being a believer. They say I'm a believer, but they just saying it out of tradition and what was taught to them. A believer means that I give over my rights to fight. I give over my rights to, you know, I don't stand with the world and the freedom that I have in protecting myself with violence. Okay? That separates. There's no one in the Bible, brothers and sisters, in the New Testament that retaliated against violence. There's nowhere in the Bible where someone was, people was called, Paul was called all type of names. People said things. Jesus was slapped. Stephen was about to get stoned. John the Baptist thrown in prison. You never see them retaliate with aggression. You never see them. You know, if they lock up these people that's claiming to be Christians, they're going to be in there angry, upset, you know, talking about this and that's wrong, because they already worldly. A believer cannot say those things, guys. We will never say that we'll fight you, we'll murder you, we need God to help us. What are we believing in then? That doesn't make any sense. That's when you know you're just doing this stuff as your whole false belief is built off of superstition. Okay? That's it. That's all it is. Because a believer is going to do what it say. There's no way I'm fighting somebody. I don't care if they want to fight me. I don't care if somebody trying to assault me, do whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be, I'm not, you know, I just got to trust the Lord. Because I got to answer to him. That moment is only going to happen, right, at the time it's going to happen. But you got to live with that sin. You got to live with that wrongdoing that you did. You see that? So as a believer, we're just not allowed to. And we just don't do it because it's the right way. We're peacemakers. If you sit here and you walk around with guns, that makes you more eager to kill somebody because you got something that can take somebody's life if you feel in danger. But if you don't have a gun, what are you going to do? You're going to get up out of there, right? You're not going to be trying to throw rocks at a person that is armed with a knife. You're going to run away. Same thing. But when you carry weapons and stuff, that makes to where you feel more, you feel more safe. And when you have the mind frame to retaliate, why do you think the Bible always says that we're not supposed to fight and different things like that? Right? For the simple fact that if you do those things, how are you going to find yourself being humble and being compassionate when you can retaliate or self-defense or do different things like that? That means you're going to have an aggressive mind frame. You're going to have aggressive nature. You're going to, walk around doing harm to people because you're not going to be able to control when it's time to fight and when it's time to be humble. But if you just be humble and just be compassionate and just, be loving, then you won't commit violent acts, and you won't be affected by those type of provokes, different things like that, because you're already humble. If a person says, hey, if the Bible said, hey guys, you can protect yourself, you can have self-defense. How do you act in humility? How do you act in compassion? How do you act in patience? How do you act in love if you can retaliate and hurt somebody? You can't. You understand what I'm saying? So that means that you're going to move about aggressively, because those are aggressive behaviors. Fighting is aggressive. You got to hit somebody. You got to ball your lip. You got to get mad. You got to ball your fist. Bite you down on your lip. You ball your fist. Those are behaviors that only a person that's aggressive and have a violent nature or give in to violence, will do. You're not going to do that if you're humble. You're going to avoid those things. But when you have that nature to fight and attack, you don't have patience. You don't have true compassion. They can push you. The Bible talks about long suffering. The Bible talks about being patient. The Bible talks about enduring hardness. You can't do none of those things when you can just retaliate or react or, just swing on somebody because you're defending yourself, right? That's not going to strengthen. It's like going to a gym and working out. You build muscle. You're not going to strengthen your faith or increase your faith by, always responding and attacking somebody to self-defense or to fight them anyway. You'll never be compassionate. You'll never have patience because that nature is a violent nature. It's an angry nature. So that's why the Bible tells you be a peacemaker. Don't fight. Turn the cheek. Because there's no way you could turn on and turn it off to where you're going to be, oh, I'm loving, I'm kind, I love the Lord. That's not possible. Because that behavior doesn't show the love of the Lord, right? You'll be too angry, you'll be too frustrated, you'll be too annoyed, you don't got any patience. But when you be humble and you be compassionate, it allows you to endure. It allows you to walk away. It allows you, if you're the opposite, it never allows the patience and compassion to grow. It never allows it to become stronger. It never allows it to where your faith increases. You'll never see the protection that God has for you, when you're just fighting everybody that comes at you, or you're just attacking anybody that's dealing with you. You'll see that God sent the angel. He sent protection. He sent help. He made the gun not even shoot. He made the person, just collapse in front of you, pass out. Or he made the person, just run away because an angel appeared. You know what I'm saying? He's seen him with his open eyes. Like you won't never see God's faith if you didn't trust in his protection and trust in his word. You understand? So this is why he's telling you, because he's telling you you're not by yourself. So I understand why these false pastors are saying they'll fight. They got guns. You see the video where the guy had the gun inside the church and, they killed them, or the guy, people got shot. They got to do that. Remember, and let me share something with y'all real quick. I'm going to share this real quick and I'm going to get off of here. A lot of reasons why a lot of these places are attacking these churches. A lot of people are attacking these false churches because false doesn't know who is who. Long as you're saying Jesus' name, they're against the name, right? They're against the name. Remember, Pharisees and Sadducees both were claiming to be the God, claiming to believe in God, but they were different. So people that's a shooter, people that are shooters and people that are violent, they're not looking at, they're false churches. You're saying God, you're saying Jesus. They don't like that name. So you could be completely false and get murdered, as if you were, a true believer, but then you die and go to hell. You understand what I'm saying? Because they don't know the difference between you being false or you being true. They know that you're saying the name of Jesus, and that's all that matters to them. Hey, we want to, I want to shoot this church. I'm going to do whatever. So you're going to see a lot of churches get attacked and stuff like that because the people that are attacking don't know who was who. They don't care. They're not attacking that church. They're attacking the name that the church is saying. Okay? So a true believer will trust in the Lord. See his power. See if he's really with you. Even Peter, he said, oh, I see that God delivered me. When the angel came and let Peter out, he was shocked himself. But that built a track record, right? With knowing. That's why he wasn't afraid. He sent the angel. So there ain't nothing when they come and take me later on to kill me. I know God's with me. You got to let God be God in your life so your faith can increase. If you try to stop everything, prevent everything, use physical strength and weapons and, guns and tasers and mace, you're never going to see the power of God. And if God doesn't help you, then you're not in his will, right? And then you have to become right with him, right? To really receive the help. Your faith will be there. I'm telling you, if someone to stand against those things, they'll have the faith to stand against it. If you're scared, you don't have the faith. If you worried, you don't have the faith. All you could do is trust the Lord. And that's what true faith does. So I would never say what the guy said. I would never say I'm going to murder somebody. God help me murder somebody. I know it's wrong. But they don't think that is wrong. They create what they want to create. They're blinded by the delusion and deceit and the darkness that's in them. They're thinking that they're spiritual. But you never heard Joe Osteen or T. Jakes talk about murdering somebody or fighting, right? But Geno Jennings exposed them all the time. You see what I'm saying, guys? The blind leading the blind. The Bible spoke about all this. I'm just here to show y'all the truth. Love you all. God bless.